Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I know we're a couple minutes behind here. We're having some technical difficulties as usual, I guess, with Zoom. I don't really know. But we'll get started here in just a moment. Wanted to make sure we didn't keep you all waiting there in the waiting room. So thankful that you guys could join us for our Strategies in Action session. Here on the Virtuous Insider. It's been really neat to be able to do this on a weekly basis, right? Connect a little bit more, discuss some more topics. I know last week we did a real deep dive on receipting and using the receipting tool. So if you didn't get a chance to join us for that, of course, the recording for that is in our support center, so you can check it out at your leisure, should you want to. Today, we've got a little bit of a shorter session, just of the half-hour variety, so that we can chat a little bit about what we like to call strategies in action. And really, this is when we will take a look at some fundraising strategies, often things that have come up in the context of our responsive weekly discussion sessions that are led by our own Megan Donahue. But we'll talk about some of those strategies and talk about how you can actually implement them in Virtuous. And that is always one of my big causes, peeves, however you want to call it, right? You attend a lot of these cool sessions and people give you all kinds of cool ideas and strategies, and they sound great. But the question is, well, great, how do I do that thing in Virtuous or in my CRM? So we'll take a look at that. So we want to go ahead and get started because we do have a limited amount of time. Before we do that, just a few quick ground rules as usual. We are recording the session for today. You will be able to access this in our support center afterward. And since we are recording, everyone is muted. Now, we do like to have at least as lively a chat as we can here. So if you want to send us a note, you can do that through the chat. If you have a question, please do use that Q&A box to send in your question. That way we can make sure we don't miss it, especially if I have a lively chat. Those things will just go floating on by, and then you can't really catch them as they go. And before we get too far down here, let's make sure we say hello. I'm Scott Richards. I'm the Director of Training here at Virtuous. And with me, as I mentioned, is Megan Donahue. She is the host of the Responsive Weekly Discussion and is so kind to join us so often for these insider sessions to share a little bit of her knowledge. How you doing, Megan?
I'm all right, Scott. Happy to be with all of you again today.
Excellent. I am not as good at the chat. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm a poor typist. Who knows? But I will try to say hi in the chat as well. Megan is always a little bit better at that than I am. But hey, shoot.
Well, I practice every week at the Responsive Weekly.
I guess that's true, right? You get a little bit of good practice. That Responsive Weekly, by the way, if you guys have not had a chance to participate, it's really awesome. It's a lively discussion. I always say it's like watching a talk show at this point, which is exciting. It's not just a webinar that you kind of have to sit through, and you can get some great stuff out of it. And then, of course, we'll try to give you some more insights from some of that content in these sessions, right? Talk to you a little bit more about that. And today, our sort of featured discussion topic, the topic du jour, if you will, is really going to be talking about recurring giving, right? That's something that came out of some recent sessions, some recent content. And so I want to talk about managing recurring gifts in Virtuous and really what it means to have a successful recurring gift program. There's a difference between just offering people the option to give monthly and really truly having a sustainer program or a monthly giving program. So things like creating incentives and really leveraging things like memberships in Virtuous, right? To make that recurring giving program something that stands on its own and can be a really great, reliable source of revenue and income. And awesome, Megan put the link to subscribe to the Responsive Weekly in the chat, so you guys can check that out too. Of course, if you've got questions, we love questions. We would love to think we can provide answers, so you can send those in. But I do want to put Megan on the spot a little bit, turn things over to her a little bit. We were chatting beforehand about some of the things that have come up in terms of managing successful recurring gift programs, some things that have been shared by some of the guests on the Responsive Weekly, some of our partners. And we've got some of those sort of tips here, but Megan, did you want to share some of the insights?
Sure. So it's interesting because it's come up as a theme again and again on the Responsive Weekly that recurring gifts are really a place to prioritize your energy. And there are several reasons for this, right? One is that it's a great source of sustainable, predictable revenue for your organization, which allows you to do things that if you're just going campaign to campaign, you might not be able to have that level of sustainability. But it's also really great for your donors. And if you think about it from a relationship building perspective, it really has a lot of potential to build deeper connections, make donors feel like really a special part of things, and really celebrate their commitment to your organization. So it's good for organizations, definitely from a dollars and cents perspective. And it's good for donors from a relationship building perspective, which then also becomes good for organizations from a donor perspective or donor retention perspective. So it's this like glorious circle of like, it's good for them, it's good for us, it's good for them, it's good for us. We do see that research is showing that the lifetime value of recurring givers is high. People tend to join these kinds of programs and stick around for quite a while, and consequently they give more than they would have if they were giving one-off gifts over this same period of time or a shorter period of time. Some research suggests that the lifetime value of a recurring giver is 4 to 5 times higher than that of other kinds of one-off givers, which I thought was very, very interesting.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I dig that. And, I like the idea of the sort of reciprocity of how beneficial this is. And to me, it really is, that 3-legged stool. Because if I really want to have a successful program, right, I want my staff and my organization to feel happy, and I want my donors to be happy, and I want my beneficiaries to be happy, right? The folks who are benefiting from our programming. And so with a successful recurring giving program, my staff can feel good because we have, like you said, a predictable, reliable source of revenue, and we can kind of project things into the future. My donors are happy because they get to be part of this sustainer program. We can talk a little bit about how you can kind of build a community out of that. And then my beneficiaries are going to benefit because, again, I've got some more reliable revenue, so I can really project an accurate budget for all of my programming and know where things stand. And if you can do that in any area of your fundraising, then that's really the goal.
Absolutely. So I'm interested if people are running monthly giving programs right now or recurring giving programs, how many people are. If you wanted to drop in the chat, if you have a program, and we could very generously describe a program as like, if you have a checkbox that people can make a gift monthly, we'll call that a program. So I'd be interested.
Program.
Yeah. Are you doing anything with monthly giving right now? And while we're waiting for that to come in, let's talk a little bit about that checkbox. I think like it's easy. I see it a lot that there's like, make this gift monthly. All right, see people coming in that they have like at least a checkbox going. And I want to say, because I'm going to get mouthy about checkboxes, my first thing I'm going to say is that a checkbox is 100% better than not giving the option to make a gift recurring. Like, if all you can manage right now is a checkbox on your donation form, that is better than not having it.
100%.
However, you can do more and it will work better. I see a lot of people are at like, we have the opt-in. So you've got that first step ready. Like it's possible for someone to give a monthly gift. But one thing that was really interesting last fall at the Responsive Nonprofit Summit, we had a session by Victoria Harrison, who is one of the co-founders of Charity Water, talking about how they like really prioritized their monthly giving, like switched from an events and campaigns based approach to a recurring giving approach. And she put forward this idea that really kind of revolutionized monthly giving for me mentally, which is the idea of creating a monthly giving product and thinking about it more as a subscription, like Netflix, than just make this gift recurring. And it was really interesting to start looking at that from like a community building standpoint and creating a branded like product, a thing they're subscribing to. And instead of like a Netflix subscription or a subscription box, the thing they're getting is stories and impact and inspiration about your cause. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, and the opportunity to make a difference. And I think, so it's funny, right? Sometimes you talk to some nonprofits and it sounds like monthly giving is a trick that you pull on donors, right? Hey, we've put this checkbox on the website and we kind of hope they check it. And if they do, we're never going to mention it again because we're afraid that if we do, they'll realize they're giving us $25 every month and they'll stop it.
Right. I mean, that used to be advice.
What's that?
I said that used to be the advice that some people gave was like in the semi-distant past was like, set up the recurring gifts and then like, hopefully they'll forget it forever and just keep giving.
Yeah, just hope they set it and forget it.
But that's not what we're seeing anymore as the most effective way forward.
No, and really, creating this as an opportunity that they can opt into to make a difference and to talk about the benefits of that and to make it something that like you're, I don't know about everybody else in our house. I've got kids, so we have to have like 5 different subscription services just to be able to watch any movie or TV show at any given time of day or night. And, we pay for those every single month. And to make it part of that too, hey, I don't just pay for like, random entertainment and pay for, Apple Music or whatever the heck you have, but you're also paying that $50 a month to be able to feel good and to be able to know that you're making a difference and to get the ability to join a community of other donors like you. And I think that when we talked about this, even before this session, Megan, that was something that you had mentioned that I thought was really interesting, was using this as a way to really build a community and cultivate this sort of aspect of this monthly giving program, right? Cultivate that aspect and let people feel like they're joining something and making a difference with something, and don't hide it. Make it something that you celebrate about them.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've been a monthly giver at an organization for, I don't know how many years. I actually did kind of set it and forget it. And then I'm reminded because they send me a newsletter. And it always feels so good when I'm reminded of like, oh yeah, I do that. I've done that a lot for a long time. It's a cause I care about and probably, but there's no way that I ever in a series of single gifts that I made like in response to a campaign or that, I don't think my giving would have equaled what it has over the years, just because it's way more possible for me to make a small monthly contribution than it is for me to make like a major gift of any kind, or a big lump sum. And I also wouldn't have that feeling of like, oh yeah, I'm a sustaining donor for this organization. And I see stories about other sustaining donors and I'm like, yeah, I do that. That's part of the thing. That's the thing we all share. So it can be a great donor experience and build a lot of loyalty. Because now if I stopped giving to them, I would feel like that was a big decision and a big change, as opposed to like if I didn't give in their annual campaign in December this year, that wouldn't seem significant. But canceling my monthly gift would be a big deal.
Right. Well, and I think you use and we've both actually at different points here today, just use the word sustainer. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of kind of the next level of this, which is like, hey, make my gift monthly or make my gift recurring. The idea of recurring doesn't have any positive sort of connotation to it. Recurring just means it's going to happen again and again. And like, if you listen to NPR, right, whenever they do their pledge drive, they'll talk about becoming a sustainer, at the $5 a month level. And just that idea of a sustainer versus a recurring giver. Hey, I am helping you to sustain your programming. I am part of what is making what you do possible. I think that's a big step in the right direction. But then really being able to create even more of a branded community, right? So if you have your monthly givers, that's great. But if they are part of your Hope Champions, right? Your monthly rock stars, your insert name here, when you make that sort of a club, right? An exclusive community that someone can get access to, then it becomes more like that product that you offer monthly. And you can really incentivize giving by just changing a little bit of the language that we use around recurring giving.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then starting to create content streams and marketing essentially that's just for them, that's targeted to that group of donors, that says you're special. You get stuff other people don't get because you care in ways that other people have not yet joined us in caring. Of like, these are stories you get that are just for you. These are conversations we host that you're the people who are invited to. This is a tour of our facility just for our monthly givers. And that kind of stuff does build, again, a sense of community and loyalty and confidence in the organization and the cause.
100%. I mean, shoot, there's people who give to NPR at the $10 a month level so they can get the car magnet, right? I mean, so this is the idea that has been around for a long time of the you know, give X amount, get premium, but just taken to the next level and used not just to incentivize you to give once, but to make you a regular monthly or sustaining giver. And I like the idea of content streams that are aimed just at that group too. But I think even beyond that, content stream and communication to those folks once they become a recurring giver, part of this really is this second bullet, right? I need to start to actively cultivate recurring givers. I need to start asking people to be a monthly champion or a sustainer. I need to have campaigns that are specifically targeting folks and asking them not to become a donor, but to become a monthly donor. I need to make that a priority.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is what someone said on the weekly, and I can't remember who it was. But the idea of like making it a dedicated, thinking of it as a campaign. Like the fundraising campaign is to convert people into monthly donors. And a great demographic of donors to cultivate is your lapsed one-time donors from last year. If you want to reach back out to them and say, like, last year you gave us $200. Would you be interested in giving us $20 a month or $30 a month, or, you know, those targeted asks?
That's an interesting group. I think we tend to think of this as a linear thing. So if we are targeting folks, we think, hey, I need to take my current donors who just aren't sustainers, and I need to say, hey, you already obviously like us. Would you like to show us how much you like us on a monthly basis as opposed to once a year?
Yeah, that's a good.
It is also
way too.
Yeah, but it is also a neat way to reacquire those donors by offering them a new option that they maybe didn't know about or take advantage of before.
Yeah, and it's a great way to having something new is a good way, a good excuse to say hi. You know, like, why are you getting in contact with me? Is it just to ask me for money? No, it's in fact to invite you to be part of this community of people who care about a thing you care about.
That is awesome. Well, man, is it already 20
yeah, we got to talk about how to do this in Virtuous.
I got to talk about the Virtuous part. We see Megan and I could just like chat for an hour. We just have a good time. But when it comes to recurring gifts in Virtuous, there's a couple of things from these little nuggets, these really little strategy tips that you can pull in, and we could spend an hour talking just about recurring gifts in Virtuous. Obviously, right? We could. We're not going to do all of that today, but I think the two things that I really want to highlight are number one, the ability to use some of the reporting in Virtuous to report on your recurring gift revenue and even to monitor fulfillment. Because again, if the intent here is to create a reliable recurring source of revenue, if people are making recurring gift commitments and then I'm not receiving payments, that's not so reliable. So I want to make sure I stay on top of that. But then also taking this a step beyond just recurring gifts, because in Virtuous, and this was still a recent development, relatively speaking, we've got the idea of memberships. We've got membership functionality, and you can create memberships that are specifically tied to recurring gifts. So that, again, creating that sort of community, creating that sort of, access, that group, I can do that as a membership and keep track of that membership on a contact record and have that directly tied to a recurring gift. So these are two of the things I just wanted to touch on, at least briefly, for today. So let's flip over into Virtuous proper. Here we are. So first off, I mentioned reporting on fulfillment, reporting on your revenue, even being able to see that into the future. There's a lot of ways you can do that, but two of the quickest and easiest ways that you can do that would be, number one, from our standard reports, right? I think people sometimes tend to jump right to queries and widgets and custom reports, but man, we got all these standard reports that are built in for you. And here, one of them is the recurring gift payment report. And that recurring gift payment report, I can run for whatever time frame I want. I can choose whether or not I want to include automated payments. If I just want check payers, I can do that. I could report on just one project or all of them. I could focus on just my monthly givers, or I could focus on everyone. And I could see, okay, what payments are we expecting? So for example, if I wanted to limit this just to August, we're in late July here. Don't know how I got that late in the year, but I could go ahead and run this and see, okay, what are we expecting in terms of recurring revenue for the month of August? We're expecting $17,370. So far, of course, it's July, so we've received exactly $0. And here's all those payments that we're expecting to come in. I can also run this for any past month or past time period, and that'll show me the total we expected versus the total that was actually paid. Right? People are making those commitments, and that's awesome, but are they following through and making the payments on that commitment? That's an important distinction. And even before I dive into this report, right, I mentioned dashboard widgets. Well, we've got a dashboard widget just for this. Okay, mine's going to look a little bonkers because I'm here in a sandbox and the data is kind of awful. No one's actually associating their payments, but this is the recurring gift fulfillment widget. And so this will show me, this little sine wave here, how much I'm expecting each month. You can see it looks like we've got some annual and some quarterly gifts that are going to hit in some of these months here, right? And then the green line would be what we've actually received. Now, if this was real data, then I'm in big, big trouble because folks are not making their gifts. But it's a great way to really measure the health of your recurring giving program from a financial perspective. Now, in terms of memberships, you have the ability to come in here, data management, and you can create memberships. Okay, and these can have whatever name you want. I've got basic, premium, and VIP. Those all sound very, very nice. But I can create a new membership, and you can set what we call the renewal type. And so if I make this recurring, then I can specify, well, what kind of recurring gift qualifies for this membership? So, hey, to be a member at this level, you need to be giving $45 per month. And I can offer a grace period. The default is 30 days, meaning, hey, if someone is 30 days behind on a payment, we're not going to cancel their membership. We're not going to make it expire, right? Unless they go beyond 30 days. You could extend that to 90 days. You could make that grace period window whatever you want, right? And this could be my monthly champions membership. And then for that code, let's just do champ, right? In the description, sustainers. I probably want to be a little bit nicer than that, but just for right now. You have to choose, is this something that's contact or individual level? You can have all kinds of memberships here. We're talking about giving. Giving is always a contact level activity. So this would be a contact level membership. Okay, but then I can save that membership. Now, remember that in Virtuous Giving, I can create membership forms. So I can create a donation form like we talked about, some dedicated resources. I can have a campaign that drives folks to a dedicated form that allows someone to sign up, not just, hey, sign up as a donor and maybe make it recurring, but become a monthly champion, right? I can have that offered as a membership option on a giving form. If someone calls on the phone and they want to become a monthly champion, if I were to add this membership to a contact record, and this is kind of neat. So let's say that Diane here, I don't know who Diane is, she's pretend. But let's say that she called and she was interested in becoming a monthly champion, right? I could add that monthly champion's membership. And I can choose when that's starting. So maybe she's going to start on August 1st. Let's make it August 2nd. That's probably a little bit more likely. Okay. And I can specify if she has a recurring gift that works for this. Look at that. What are the odds? She already had a $45 recurring gift. Or I can create a new recurring gift. So if I've already got the recurring gift commitment, I can associate this and say, hey, that's for her membership. Or I can say, no, go ahead and create a new recurring gift that's going to be specifically tied to her membership. So now this is upcoming, right? And I'm going to have a recurring gift in here that's also set up. It's up to date because she doesn't have to make any payments just yet. But I can tie those two things together and create that community. So again, just a quick peek, but these are some of the things that you can do to say, hey, that's a great idea. How can I measure some of that recurring revenue? How can I make that predictable? How can I start to get an idea of what's coming and rely on that? And then number two, how can I offer someone something that's a step beyond, like Megan said, a step beyond the checkbox and gets you to joining this community, this exclusive group, right? And I could do that by offering something that is something like a membership program. Okay, man, it's already 12:30. These things go really fast when it's in half an hour, I got to say. We didn't have too many questions come in, but we had a little chit chat going on, which I'll take as a win, at least given the time that we have. I do want to say, please do join us next week. We're going to be doing our partner spotlight. So our friends at Donor Search are going to be joining us to talk about Donor Search and the integration that we have there to be able to access wealth data. So that'll be pretty cool. We love having guests join us. Not that we don't love having Megan join us, but shoot, we can't always be that lucky, right? And then I always do like to leave you guys with something from someone who is a little bit smarter than me. And this month, I thought this was really neat because we were talking about this idea of creating this community and creating this idea of membership, right? And so through membership, members can be perceived as important, connected, or successful. In short, membership makes us feel good. It's from Robbie Kelman Baxter. That's from a book called The Membership Economy. And that's really something that is driving at creating membership programs a little bit more on the for-profit or the software as a service side. But I think a lot of the concepts, this creating this exclusivity and just the benefits that are conveyed just by virtue of the membership itself, those are things that we can kind of extract and that we can take and we can bring into some of these other programs. And I saw a question come in here about memberships and giving societies. Yes, I think that the membership functionality we have is a great way to track those giving societies. Giving societies on their face exist to do this same thing, to offer these sorts of community-based benefits, right? To say, hey, you're part of something, you're part of an exclusive group. And like Megan said, you get access to super duper special things, a little bit of access behind the curtain, right? And again, ultimately, it's aimed at making someone feel like they are part of something larger, which I think is something that can't be overstated in terms of its value.
I agree.
Excellent. Megan, any parting wisdom, any final thoughts that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I think this is like, you can start where you are. So if you don't have a checkbox, add a checkbox. If you've got a checkbox, give your giving society or your membership program, your monthly giving program, some kind of name. and then start thinking about how you can start promoting it as its own thing. But if it's just one step at a time, every step along the way is better than where you were before and gives your donors more ways to connect with you. So it's always good. You don't have to launch the whole thing tomorrow. Just a step at a time.
I think that's awesome. I also like the idea of giving it a name like, Biff or Sally. But you should probably give it a better name than that.
That's how we know it's time to stop. Now it's just Scott and I being silly.
Oh, man, too much caffeine. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this week. Thank you, Megan, so much for sharing your insights as always. And hopefully we will see all of you, or I will at least see all of you again next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.